I need to make a video. One video that explains the essence of the English language, that is the key to understanding and speaking. What could it be? What could it be? I'm not leaving this room until I have the answer, however long it takes. I've got it! Modality! Hello and welcome to Let Them Talk. So here's an exercise for you. You can try this at home. Take a verb, a normal verb, a verb such as get. Okay, nice common verb. I get, you get, he gets, she gets, etc, etc, etc. Now, you can add something to the verb, put a phrase or a noun after it. I'm going to add a haircut, okay? I get a haircut. I get a haircut once a month, more or less. Now, find your list of modal verbs. You don't have a list of modal verbs? You should. You can use mine. Here it is. Can, could, may, might, must, shall, should, will, would. Now, look what happens when you put a modal verb before your verb. I would get a haircut. I can get a haircut. I could get a haircut. I may get a haircut. I might get a haircut. I must get a haircut. I shall get a haircut. I should get a haircut. I will get a haircut. Now let's try this with work. I would work. I can work. I could work. I may work. I might work. I must work. I shall work. I should work. I will work. Now these modal verbs change the mood of the sentence. That's why they are called modal verbs. And modal verbs can have more than one meaning. Now, if you're coming from a Latin-based language, such as Spanish or French or Portuguese, perhaps other language groups too, but I'm not an expert on this. The key to learning these languages are the verbs. The verbs. It's all about the conjugation of the verbs. And that's why speakers of these languages, when they learn English, they are obsessed by the verbs. They have this verbs mindset. Must learn the verbs. Must learn the verbs. And focus a great deal of effort learning English conjugations of irregular verbs. Win, one, put. They paste it in the kitchen, on the ceiling, over the bed, in the toilet. Now, when I studied Spanish, the book of conjugations is this thick, while in English the list of irregular verbs is, a page or two. Now, it's important. It's important to learn them, of course, but the key that unlocks the English language for you are the modal verbs. By learning how each one functions and studying the list that I will show you will make an enormous difference to your mastery of the language. Now, what I want you to do is to learn all the modals and all their different functions. You got that? Very important. First, learn the list of rules for the modal verbs. By the way, when we are looking at the modals in detail, I'll give you an example of each rule. But here are the rules to start off with. Modal verbs don't have infinitives. Can, not to can. Modal verbs don't have an S in the third person. He can, not he cans. Modal verbs are like opposing magnets. You can't put the two together next to each other in the same sentence. Okay, we'll look at that later. Modal verbs are followed by a regular verb in the infinitive without to. Modal verbs generally have more than one meaning. Now, there are a few exceptions with what we call semi-modal verbs. These are need, dare, and ought to. But that's a video for another day. I will give an example with ought to later on, though. Okay. Also, remember that this video is just a summary of the rules. If you need a deeper explanation, we have several videos, many videos on this channel which go into more detail for each topic. This includes pronunciation. There are contractions and weak forms for most of these modals. So let's go through each modal one at a time. Let's start with can. Can be used for ability, permission, and possibility. Let's have a look at an example of each. Ability. Did you know that I can eat 10 donuts in 10 minutes? Really? I can count to 10 in Japanese. Ichi ni san shi go roku nana haji kyuju. Can you drive a car? Permission. Are you going to Panama City? Can I come with you? Can we see your butterfly collection? Possibility. If we train hard, we can win. Taking drugs can kill you. Remember, like all modals, there is no infinitive. Instead, use to be able to. For example, don't say, I can speak English. No. I want to be able to speak English. Right. Can is only used in the present. For general past ability, use could. When I was young, I could run 3 marathons a day. From my apartment window, I could see the ocean on a clear day. But for having an ability and using that ability, we use was, were able to, and not could. Now this is a bit complicated, so pay attention. So you have an ability and you do the thing, okay? Then use was, were able to, and not could. Let me give you an example. I broke my leg, but was able to get down the mountain. So you had the ability to get down the mountain and you did it. So you must use was able to, okay? Could in the past is just the ability but not the doing. I thought I could get to the bottom of the mountain, but when I tried it was impossible. Okay, that's correct. I could hear Jane. She was walking down the corridor. She was very angry. Okay, that's correct. The ability in the past, I could hear her. I was able to explain the situation to her and she wasn't angry anymore. Now, it's not only the ability to explain, but the doing it. So we use was able to. For possible ability in the future, we use will be able to, not can. If I play the ukulele every day, by the end of the year, I will be able to play it pretty well. Never can here. But for future arrangements, you can use can or will be able to. Both the same in this case. I hope I can meet you next week. I hope I'll be able to meet you next week. Could. So as we've already seen, we can use could for ability in the past. Ability in the past. When I was young, I could run a mile in 4 minutes. We use could for polite permission. Could I ask you a question? You could also say, can I ask you a question? Could is maybe a little bit more polite, but more or less the same. For possibility in the present Or future, you can use could. That could be Jim at the door. Yeah, here, Jim. Yes, I could meet you tomorrow. That's possible. For possibility in the past, use could have plus past participle. I could have won the competition if I hadn't slipped on the ice and fallen on my arse. Use could have plus past participle to criticise someone for not doing what they had the possibility of doing. So, for example, you're an hour late. You could have phoned me. Yeah. For impossibility in the past, use couldn't have plus past participle. The book was perfect. He couldn't have written it any better. I couldn't have got here any earlier. I tried the best I could. May. Use may for polite permission. May I ask your advice? So you can use can, you can use could, and you can use may. May is the most polite. May I ask you a question? You can use may for probability. I may buy a bass guitar. I may go to London next week. For past probability, use may have plus a past participle. I think I may have upset Judy. Yeah, I said something kind of stupid. Might. You can use might for polite permission, though this is quite rare. Usually we use can, could or may, as we've just discussed, but you can use it. Might I ask you a personal question? Now, not many people use it. It's not dead, but shall we say it's on life support. However, sometimes I use it, but then again, I'm a bit weird. That's what people tell me in the comments. But I kind of like it, so yes, why not? If you want to use it, bring it back to life. Might I ask your opinion on something? Yeah, it's okay. Use might for probability. I might be late. Okay, this is very common. Don't say it is possible that I'll be late or maybe I'll be late. Okay, much better to use might. In English, we use may and might for probability. For past probability, use might have plus past participle. I might have eaten the poison. And for past speculation. She's not here. Well, she might have forgotten. Must. Use must for strong obligation. I must work harder. I must go to the dentist. I've got toothache. Use must for a logical assumption. What's that? Ah, that must be the taxi. I'm drunk. Well, why is that? Well, it must be the beer. In the past, used must have plus a past participle for a past assumption. It must have been Perkins that robbed the grocery. It couldn't have been anyone else. I never trusted that Perkins. Use mustn't for negative obligation. You mustn't speak to the teacher like that. You mustn't smoke in here. Should. Should is used for advice and recommendations and obligation. You should brush your teeth every day. You should learn your modal verbs. The advice is less strong than must or have to or have got to. You should try the tofu fricassee. It's really delicious. Should is also used for probability to talk about an expected outcome. It should take about an hour to paint the kitchen. You should have plus past participle to express past regrets and to criticise past behaviour. I should have told her about my other wives. I should have worn the black suit, not the pink one, for the funeral. You didn't get into medical school. You should have studied harder. In the negative, it's shouldn't have. For example, I shouldn't have got drunk last night. Just a point here about ought to, which is a semi-modal verb, which has a similar meaning to should when we are talking about obligation. It's a semi-modal because it has an infinitive with to. For example, you ought to learn your modal verbs. Okay, similar to should. We'll discuss the differences in another video. Shall and will. Let's look at these together because they've got a lot in common. You can use shall to talk about the future in the first person, singular and plural. That's I and we. For example, I shall be back soon. That's correct. However, in spoken English especially, it's much more common to use will. I will be back soon. Or you can use a contraction. I'll be back soon. I'll be back soon. I shall let you know. Okay, but I'll let you know. I will let you know is more common. We will do it soon. We shall do it soon. We'll do it soon. That's fine. Shall is still used in spoken English and written English to make an offer with shall I and to make a suggestion with shall we. Let's look at some examples of that. You look tired. Shall I drive you home? You look thirsty. Shall I give you a glass of water? Shall we go to the cinema tonight? Shall we go and get a cup of coffee? You can make a promise or a threat with he, she, it, you, or they shall. You shall go to the ball, Cinderella. That's a promise. Any student caught cheating shall be expelled. Okay, this is a very formal usage. It's much more common in written English. Will has several meanings. It's not just used for the future, and we'll look at those in a minute. However, for the future, according to the grammar books, you use will just for the second and third persons. You will like this. She will do it tomorrow. But as we've already seen, in spoken English, you just use will for all persons or use a contraction. Now here's some other uses of will. To make a prediction, a subjective prediction, my prediction. I'm sure I will win the poker game this evening. I have a feeling. It will take me an hour to finish this. To make a promise, use will. I will do it for you. I promise. I will always love you. Oh, yes. Use will to talk about decisions made at the moment of speaking. What? You don't have masala dosa? Okay, I'll have Hawaiian pizza, but without the ham or the pineapple. Use will to talk about repetitive actions in the present. Repetitive actions in the present. Every day he sits in that chair and he will read a book for hours. Now this is not a future tense, it's a present tense. We'll talk more about that in a future video. Use will to make an offer. I'll help you prepare for your exams if you like. Use won't for refusals. I don't know what I said, but now she won't talk to me. My car won't start. For more information about won't for refusals, check out the video up here. Would. Use would for polite requests and to say what we want. I would like a bottle of your finest champagne, please. Tuesday is okay, but I prefer Wednesday. I'd like that one, please. Use would for polite offers. I say, would you like a piece of banana cake? I made it myself, you know. Use would for permission with would you mind? Would you mind if I took the afternoon? I want to have tea with Aunt Mildred. Would is, of course, used for conditionals. If I had more time, I would spend it with you. But I'm a bit busy, so off. Okay, just joking there. Use would as a past tense to talk about repetitive actions in the past. Repetitive actions in the past. A bit like used to. When I was a student, I would read a book every week. Not anymore. Remember, this is not a conditional, it's past tense. We do have a video on this subject too. Check it out up here. Use would have as a past conditional, the third conditional. If you had arrived earlier, you would have met Perkins. I don't like Perkins, but you wouldn't have gone to prison if you hadn't stolen the statue.